Chapter 241, Speed. Netero slowly put his hands together and a huge Buddha appeared behind him. The Buddha seemed majestic, exuding golden light. This is the second time Allan saw Netero's 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva, and compared to before, this time it was more solid and impressive. Come on, Chairman. Facing Netero's 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva, Allan wasn't afraid. Seeing Allan's fighting spirit, Netero smiled. In the next second, he made a move. His palms that were together separated and he gently pushed one hand forward. However, Allan saw a fierce huge golden palm blasting toward him. Armament, hardening. Allan clenched his fists which suddenly turned black. It wasn't that he didn't want to avoid the palm from the golden Buddha, but he couldn't. He was shocked to find that his speed was slower than the palm heading his way. Therefore, Allan's only choice was to face it head-on. Allan punched the golden palm with his black fists and the moment they touched, a huge shockwave was generated. The trees in their surrounding was uprooted and flew in the air from the shockwave and the ground under Allan cracked. But Allan still stood firmly without moving back. Netero looked at this in surprise, as he didn't expect Allan to block his 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva with his fists. Although he didn't use all of his power in that palm attack, Allan still managed to block it, which made him the second person in the world to do so. As for the first person, he is an assassin named Mahazaldik. However, it's been many years since their fight. Netero thought that few people in this world could take his 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva head-on, but today, he encountered someone who can match it, and furthermore, this person is very young. At this moment, Netero saw infinite potential in Allan's future. Interesting. Netero launched another attack. The 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva behind him released two palms. Two huge golden palms moved toward Allan to squash him. Allan covered his entire body with armament haki and released his observation haki for better observation. Soru. Allan disappeared from his place as he rushed toward Netero quickly. At the same time, the golden palm's momentum comes from his left and right. Bang! Before he reached Netero's body, Allan was caught between the golden palms. The palms were like two big mountains clasping Allan. Allan felt himself being squashed under between the golden palms and at this time he said, Shinra Tensei. A powerful repulsive force erupted from Allan and immediately pushed the palms away. Allan's figure flashed as he used flash steps to move away from Netero. Netero was surprised because Allan was able to repel the palms of the 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva. Next, I'm going to get a little bit serious. As soon as Netero finished his words, he waved his hand and the Buddha behind him moved. 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva 99th hand. Suddenly, hundreds of palms flew toward Allan. Allan had no time to react, and the place where he stood was hit hard as if it was bombarded by artillery. Dust flew around, the ground was destroyed, and the trees flew in the air from the shockwaves. The dust dissipated and a huge crater appeared on the ground. Allan, who was in the middle of the pit, seemed quite tattered. Although he used armament haki to defend himself, he still suffered some injuries. As for the elementalization ability of his devil fruits, Netero's attacks negated them as they weren't just physical attacks. This is a rare occasion where Allan got injured. Fortunately, the armament haki protected him very well and he wasn't severely injured. Netero was quite shocked that Allan was still able to stand and without many injuries as well. Since Chairman turned serious, then I will also show my abilities. Oh! Hearing this, Netero felt surprised. Allan hasn't used all of his power just now? He still has more tricks. Out of curiosity, Netero launched another attack. Many palms once again moved toward Allan together. Here I go. An electric arc moved on Allan's body, which belonged to his rumble fruit. Allan knew that Netero's 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva was very fast and had a wide range. If he only relied on his physical skills, he won't be able to avoid them. If he wasn't as fast as the 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva, he would just be beaten without any chance to avoid or attack. Therefore, there are two steps to fight Netero's 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva. The first step is to predict the 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva's attacks and dodge them in advance. The second step is to surpass the 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva's speed. For other people, they might not be able to predict the 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva's attacks, but Allan had advanced observation haki, so he can do it. Next, he had to move faster than the 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva. Allan also has the ability to do this using his rumble speed to move at the lightning. With that kind of speed, Allan was confident that he wouldn't lose. After turning his body into lightning, Allan's speed improved. At the same time, with his observation haki, he grasped the 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva's attacks trajectory and avoided them. Electric light flickered between the palms as every time one of the palms get close to hitting Allan, he would avoid them. Allan's speed surpassed the 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva's speed, and with the observation haki, he managed to avoid every attack with no effort. Chapter 242, Lightning. In the forest, Allan moved as fast as lightning as he avoided the 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva's attacks. It wasn't an exaggeration as he really reached the speed of lightning. Netero couldn't help the shock as he watched Allan evade all of his attacks. In Netero's eyes, Allan seemed to turn into a ball of lightning, glowing with dazzling blue light. No matter how fierce Netero attacked, Allan could evade his attacks with the combination of speed and observation haki. My turn. Allan waved his hand and a bolt of lightning struck Netero. Boom! Netero directly used the 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva to block the lightning. The blue lightning and the golden palms exploded. 20 million volts, Thunder Dragon. Following Allan's right hand, a dragon-shaped lightning rushed toward Netero. Facing the Thunder Dragon, Netero didn't dare stay still. He immediately folded his arms together, making the 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva behind him do the same. In the next second, the Thunder Dragon seemed to crush into a golden barrier. Interesting. Allan's mouth raised in a slight smile as he lifted his hand, generating a lightning pillar toward Netero. Boom! The dazzling lighting and the golden light collided and exploded. This continued for a while, and half an hour later, Netero took the initiative to stop the fight as his 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva disappeared. Haha, this old man lost. Allan didn't expect Netero to concede defeat and was a little surprised. Even though he transformed into lightning, his speed could match Netero's 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva, and even surpass it, but he couldn't beat Netero, because his 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva was almost flawless. Even with his speed, he couldn't break through Netero's defense in a short time. What's more, Netero still has his strongest move, the Zero Hand, which he hadn't used. This shows that Netero still had some reservations in this battle and didn't give his all in this fight. Netero didn't seem to want to use the Zero Hand attack from the start. After all, it was just a spar, it wasn't necessary to go all in as if it was a life and death battle. But, he won since Netero admitted defeat. It was naturally the best result for Allan. Ding! You have defeated Netero. You obtained the Supreme Sword Yoru. Allan smiled with joy, his power rose to the next level with this sword. At this moment, Netero came over and curiously asked, Allan, are you a transmutter? Allan nodded, yes, I'm indeed a transmutter. Netero asked immediately, so, the lightning-like speed and power you just used, you developed it yourself? Allan shook his head, that's not an ability, no, to be precise, it's none at all. It's not the power none. Netero was puzzled, so, what kind of power is that? It's the power of the devil, Allan said. Devil's power? Netero frowned. I can't say much about the specifics, you can think of it as a supernatural power of a sort. Allan shrugged. He didn't want to tell the story of the devil fruit. In other words, even if you don't use none, you can still use the power of lightning. Netero asked. That's right. Allan nodded. That's really amazing, Netero said with admiration. I know that in addition to that power, you also have the ability of ice. But in the battle just now, you used only lightning, it seems that you are still hiding your strength. Hearing this, Allan smiled, after all, this is just a spar, you will have a chance to see my full power, Chairman. Do you mean the Ant King? Netero asked. Allan replied, Chairman, do you agree with my suggestion? Of course. Netero smiled. After their spar, Netero was convinced by Allan's power and recognized him from the bottom of his heart. Then Chairman, when you're going to challenge the Ant King, remember to take me with you, Allan said. Well, don't worry, you're so powerful, what can I do without you? Netero laughed. Chairman, the Ant King is so powerful that even I can't guarantee that I can kill him. Therefore, I was fighting with all of my power at that time. Netero nodded, when the time comes, I will go first, if I can't beat him, then you will take the stage. If even you can't defeat him, then I won't have any choice but to use the poor man's rose to kill him." Hearing this, Allan smiled and said, "Don't worry, Chairman, you won't die with the Ant King. Because the Hunter Association still needs you to manage it. If you die, the association will be in trouble." Netero smiled, "Ha ha ha, thanks for your concern. However, this old man already decided that if I can't beat the Ant King, and I don't die, then I will resign from my position as the chairman." Allan was surprised, "Are you serious?" Netero nodded slightly, "Well, I've been the chairman of the Hunter Association for decades, I want to hand over the association for the younger generation." "Well, no matter what decision you make, I won't object." As a member of the Hunter Association, Allan naturally didn't want Netero to resign as its chairman, but since Netero wanted to continue in that position, he couldn't object. "Allan, I look forward to your performance, you're qualified to compete for the chairman post." Hearing Netero's words, Allan scratched his head and said, "Chairman, how am I qualified? In terms of qualification, I'm just a newcomer." Netero smiled, he, "Although you don't have enough in terms of qualification, you are strong enough. You're now a 2-star hunter, and you already qualified to compete with the other senior hunter for the chairman position. That being said, I have little interest in that position." Allan shrugged. You're like Jing, you don't care about the position of chairman," Netero said. "Jing? You mean Jing Freaks?" Allan asked. Netero nodded, "That's him, do you know him?" "I don't know him, but I know that he is Gon's father," Allan said. "Gon, the little child with the hedgehog head?" Netero asked. Allan nodded. "Jing mentioned his son to me, saying that Gon will catch up with him one day, or even surpass him," Netero said. "I believe that as well." Allan smiled slightly. Chapter 243, Return to Whale Island. After finishing his fight with Netero, Allan temporarily left the Hunter Association back to Whale Island. His purpose was to see how far did Gon had advanced since he last saw him a month ago. In the forest of Whale Island, Allan found Gon. His Nen became much stronger than before. "It seems like you are stronger than before, Gon." Allan laughed. "Since I left, I spent almost 15 hours training every day. Except for sleeping and meals, I spend the rest training," Gon replied. "As long as you keep that, you will become very strong," Allan encouraged. Gon nodded then said, "Allan, can you please spar with me, I want to see how much I improved." Suddenly, the systems gave Allan 2 choices. Ding! Make a choice. 1. Accept Gon's request and win. Reward, 3 months of training experience. 2. Reject Gon's request. Reward, 1000 Nen point. Allan picked the first choice and said, "Well, let go." Gon was happily hearing this. "Gon, go all out, I won't go easy on you." "I'm happy to hear that." Gon clenched his fist and released his Nen, which was quite strong and made him look amazing. Gon was an enhancer and he was best at strengthening his body. Boom! With an explosion, Gon rushed toward Allan and punched. Although Gon's attacks were simple, they allowed him to perform to the best of his abilities. Allan didn't dodge but let the punch land. He didn't block Gon's fist using Nen, but he used his physical strength instead. When the punch landed on Allan, he could feel that Gon was indeed stronger than before. Even though Gon improved quite a bit, he was still far from reaching Allan's current power. Allan flashed as if he teleported and arrived behind Gon, and with a chop to the back of Gon's neck, Gon fell unconscious. Gon used Ken to defend but it wasn't enough. Ding! You knocked Gon out, you received 3 months of training experience. In a moment, Allan felt his power increase a little bit. I have to say, Gon is really an experience package. Allan thought, but he didn't consider Gon to be a tool. Allan picked Gon and went back to Mito's place. Seeing Allan, Mito was surprised and delighted. After not seeing him for a while, she found that Allan grew taller again, and was no longer the boy he once was. His body exuded a faint aura of a powerhouse as well. The next day, while eating breakfast, Gon said, "It seems like I'm still far behind if you can easily knock me out like that." Seeing Gon so down, Allan comforted him, "Come on, you don't get strong overnight, training needs time." "I decided. I will train with defeating you as a goal," Gon said firmly. Hearing this, Allan smiled, "Yes, you can challenge me anytime." I will not hold back and knock you down each time you do. I'm serious, you just wait. Gon said. Gon was someone to joke around, and from that day onward, he regarded Allan as his target. He still held to his goal of finding his father, the difference is that he wants to be a better hunter than his father, while he wants to defeat Allan. But in general, whether it was Allan or Jing, both held an important place in Gon's heart. 2 days later, Allan was about to leave Whale Island. Before leaving, Allan went to Gon in the forest and said, Gon, training alone can't make you improve quickly, I suggest you go wander the world for experience. Gon thought for a bit and found it reasonable. If that's the case, I will go outside, but where should I go? Allan thought for a bit and said, you can go to Killua. Didn't Killua go back to the Zaldik family to train last time? I think he will also want to go out, so you can train together. Hearing Allan's suggestion, Gon said, you're right, then I'm going to find Killua. Suddenly, Gon thought of something, by the way, Allan, do you want to go find Killua together? Seeing Allan hesitating, Gon said, Allan, you just have to take me there and nothing else. So you don't? Chapter 244, Opening all doors of the testing gate. A day later, Allan and Gon came to the Dentora region of the Republic of Padokia, where Kukuru Mountain is. Allan and Gon took the sightseeing wagon toward Kukuru Mountain, which is a great tourist spot. After getting off the bus, Alana and Gon came to the door of trial of the Zaldik family. The testing gate is divided into 7 layers. The first gate is around 4 tons, the second is 8, the third is 16, the fourth is 32, the fifth is 64, the sixth is 128, and the last one, the 7th gate, is 256 tons. Only through opening the gate of trial can you enter the Zaldik family. The scary thing about the gate is the guard dog, Mike. It's a dog that was more than 10 meters in height. You two there, what are you doing? Leave quickly. A bald man walked out of the security house, beside the testing gate and yelled at Gon and Allan. Uncle Guard, long time no see. Gon grinned. What? Oh, it turned out to be you two. The guard recognized Gon and Allan and was surprised. Good to see you well, sir. Allan smiled faintly. Allan could tell that the guard looked stronger than last time. Presumably, you are here to find Master Killua again? The guard asked. Allan nodded, well, we are indeed here to find Killua. Uncle, Killua is home, right? Gon asked. Well, yes, the last time Killua came back, he entered through the testing gate. The guard replied. After confirming that Killua was home, Allan said, Allan, let's go in. Allan nodded. Are you going to push the testing gate? The guard asked. Of course. Allan smiled. I remember you opened the 4th gate last time. How many you're planning to challenge this time? The guard asked curiously. Ding. Make a choice. 1. Push open the 3rd testing gate. Reward, double Rashomon. 2. Open the 7th testing gate. Reward, nail punch. T/N, anime, Toriko. 3. Destroy the testing gate. Reward, quintuple Rashomon. Allan picked the second option and opened all 7 gates. Uncle, have you ever seen someone who could push through all testing gates? Allan asked. I have seen Master Silva and Master Zeno do that before. The guard said. Allan nodded and smiled, then, I will open all of them this time. What? Open all the testing gates? Are you serious? The guard was surprised. Well, I will give it a try, Allan said. Allan, let me push it first, I want to see the result of my training. Gon said suddenly. Well, you can go first. Allan agreed as he was a little curious about Gon's power as well. Gon put his hands on the testing gate ready to push and said, last time I opened the 3rd gate using all of my power, this time, I want to open 5. Gon released his Nen and strengthened his body to its peak before pushing the gates. The 1st gate opened, then the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, and finally, the 5th gate opened. After reaching his goal, Gon finally stopped and sat on the ground, breathing heavily. Gon managed to open the 5th testing gate, but he consumed too much of his Nen by doing so. You have improved a lot since last time, Allan said. The guard looked at Gon in surprise as he couldn't imagine someone so young to be able to do this, except for Master Killua himself. As expected of Master Killua's friend, he isn't an ordinary person. The guard whispered. I will go next then. Allan walked to the testing gate which was closing slowly after Gon opened the fifth gate. Allan pushed the first, second, and third gates easily. At the fourth gate, Allan got serious. When he reached the fifth gate, he started using Nan and opened it before taking advantage of the momentum to push the sixth gate open. Only the seventh gate was left, which was 250 sextons. Allan was using his full power and the last gate started rumbling and was finally pushed open. Both Gon and the guard looked in shock with wide open eyes. You actually managed to open all the testing gates. The guard looked at Allan as if he was a monster with eyes full of shock. Even Gon felt a little disbelief at Allan's power. He suddenly realized something and thought, is surpassing Allan something that can be done? Chapter 245, Guest. Ding! You successfully opened all the testing gates, and received the nail punch. Allan learned how to use the nail punch without anyone teaching him. Allan turned to Gon and said, "Come on, Gon, let's go find Killua." "Goodbye, Uncle Guard." After Allan and Gon walked through the testing gate, the guard returned to his small cottage and picked up a communication device to report Allan's arrival. The butlers of the Zaldik frowned after learning about Gon and Allan's arrival. Generally speaking, the Zaldik family was never happy welcoming outsiders into the mansion. For uninvited guests, the Zaldik family would treat them as invaders even. There is only one end to the invader, which is elimination. However, this time, the situation was different. Because the people that came now were Allan and Gon. This wasn't the first time they are here and they had a special identity. The butlers knew that they were friends with Allan, so it was impossible to treat them as invaders. The head butler, Gota, had to report this to the patriarch of the Zaldik family, Silva, who is Killua's father. Silva gave special treatment and ordered Gota and the butlers to treat them as guests. On the other side, Allan and Gon were moving toward the mansion. Suddenly, a huge black shadow rushed out of the woods and blocked their path. The huge shadow was none other than Mike, the guard dog of the Zaldik family. As a guard dog of the Zaldik family, Mike was trained to eat all intruders they don't know, but surprisingly, it didn't attack Gon or Allan, because it recognized them. Allan smiled and raised his hand. "It's been a long time, Mike. Can I trouble you to let us through? We're going to meet your master." As if understanding Allan's words, Mike stepped aside to clear the path for them. "Let's go." Allan naturally didn't do anything, since Mike let them through willingly. After half an hour, Allan and Gon stopped as they were surprised. In front of the mansion, a group of butlers and maids were lined up in 2 rows and they welcomed them. "Mr. Allan, Mr. Gon, it's been a long time," Gota said. Allan smiled as he saw this. "Hehe, are you blocking our way, or welcoming us?" The patriarch said, "You two are friends with Master Killua, so you are welcome here." Gota pushed his glasses and said. Allan nodded, "Thanks for the welcome then." If Gota and the rest dared to stop them, Allan would have fought. After all, with his current power, there is nothing here to be afraid of. "Please come with me, both of you," Gota said. Moving through the courtyard, Gon and Allan reached the villa with Gota's help. "Master Killua is still training in seclusion, you two can rest here," Gota said before making his subordinate bring snacks to Allan and Gon. "Okay." Allan stretched and sat down on the sofa comfortably. Gon was more cautious. Although it was the second time he came here, he still felt a little uncomfortable. "Gon, relax," Allan said. "Do you think Killua will come to see us?" Gon asked. Allan thought for a bit then answered, "He will. After all, we ran from Whale Island to his house, so he will come to see us." But Uncle Gota said that Killua is still in seclusion. "I think he wouldn't come out quickly." Allan smiled. "Then, we will wait until he comes out." Gon was surprised. "How long will it take?" Allan shrugged and said, "I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 days, or maybe 10 or half a month, since no one can tell." While the two were chatting, Allan suddenly felt someone looking at him. He turned his head and saw a young man in a black suit, with black hair and black eyes coming in. It was Killua's eldest brother, Illumi. Chapter 246, Illumi. Behind Illumi was a fat man wearing a white shirt and holding a potato chip in his hand. It was Killua's brother Miluki. Allan smiled faintly. Unexpectedly, "You're also here, Illumi." Seeing Allan ignoring him, Miluki said, "Hey, why are you here again? Last time you came uninvited, and even though father treated you as a guest this time, don't be too proud of yourself. You're inside the Zaldik family, and you can't get in and out casually. Allan shrugged and said, don't say that. As the saying goes, once you do it once, you can do it again. By the way, you're Killua's second brother, right? I heard are good at computer science and games. But sometimes your brain will go offline equals dot. Milwaukee was looking in triumph when he heard the first bit, but the offline comment angered him. What do you mean offline? Believe it or not, I will bomb you. Allan smiled, I believe you of course. You guys are professional assassins, no one would doubt your level of professionalism, it's just that. It's just that? Milwaukee asked. Allan looked at him sharply and said, do you think that a mere bomb can kill me? After all, I fought against your grandfather. Milwaukee remembered what happened when Allan visited last time. He witnessed the duel between the two. And Zeno voluntarily surrendered. Although he guessed that the two of them were evenly matched, Zeno still surrendered. Milwaukee admired his grandfather, and to be able to fight equally with him, Allan was a monster and he couldn't afford to offend him. I was just joking, after all, your grandpa and father's guest, I can't attack you. Seeing Milwaukee like that, Allan stepped down and didn't care about him. At this moment, Illumi looked at Allan coldly, I heard from Gota that you and Gon are here for Killua. Allan sneered, I didn't come for you anyways. To be honest, Allan didn't like Illumi from the start. Compared to Hisoka's mood swings, this guy was more dangerous. The danger here isn't referring to Illumi's strength but character and psychology. Especially since he is a super Brahman through and through. In addition to taking killing orders, he just wants to control his brother in any way. Therefore, Allan didn't like him. Illumi said blankly, why are you looking for Killua? Do you want to take him away again? What about it? Allan stared at Illumi without any fear. I don't agree with you taking Killua away, Illumi said. Allan smiled, Illumi, you're just Illumi's big brother, not his father, whether Killua wants to go with us or not, has nothing to do with you. Don't forget where you are in the Zaldik family mansion, do you think you can take Killua away from me? Allan sneered, hee, what are you going to do, after all, I'm a guest here. I will not do anything to you, Illumi said. Is that so? Didn't you say that this is your home or something? Allan sneered and dared Illumi to attack or do anything to him. Illumi understood that Allan was provoking him and didn't take the bait. Seeing Illumi so calm, Allan said, alright, don't you owe me a favor? Illumi remembered what happened in the hunter exam as he still owed Allan a favor and nodded. So today you will pay back that favor, Allan said. How do you want me to pay you back? Do you want someone dead? Illumi asked. Allan shook his head, no, I don't need you to kill anyone. Then how do you want me to repay that favor? Illumi frowned. Allan smiled, it's very simple. We are here to find Killua, whether he wants to leave with us or not depends on his choice, you can't interfere with this. Hearing this, Illumi pondered for a while before he said, I can promise that, but I have one condition. Chapter 247, Duel. What condition? Allan asked with interest. I heard that you fought with grandfather before. If you can defeat me, I promise not to interfere with Killua's choice. Ding. Make a choice. 1. Accept Illumi's condition and defeat him with absolute strength. Reward, High Eyes Black Dragon Wave, Yu Yu Hakusho. 2. Accept Illumi's condition and kill him. Reward, Black Spirit Pill. Although he didn't like Illumi, Allan didn't want to kill him as he is Killua's big brother. So he had to pick the first choice. He looked at Illumi and sneered, good, I will defeat you then. Illumi said expressionlessly, I admit, you should be a lot stronger than me, so if it's a fair duel, I may not be your opponent. Oh? You're aware of that? Allan looked at him and smiled, then what should we do? Illumi thought for a bit and said, you can only defend or dodge for the 3 minutes, if I fail to defeat you in that time, you can attack. Do you accept those rules? Allan nodded, okay, within 3 minutes, I won't attack. Are you that confident? Illumi was surprised. Yes, wait, you will find out when we fight, Allan said confidently. Then, I want to see how strong you are. Illumi was trained since he was young to become a professional assassin, therefore, he was confident in his strength. Come on. Allan hooked his finger in provocation. Illumi didn't talk nonsense as his figure flashed and rushed forward. Facing Illumia's attack, Allan abided by the additional rules and only defended and evaded the former's attacks. Those rules benefited Illumi greatly as he didn't have to think about defense at all. With those rules, he was confident that he can defeat Allan within 3 minutes. An astonishing display unfolded in the lobby as Illumi displayed various assassination techniques. However, Illumi soon discovered that no matter how he attacked, Allan could dodge easily. It was as if he could see through his attacks and predict them in advance. As a first-class assassin, Illumi realized that Allan's instincts were very advanced if he could predict his moves. Allan was using his observation haki to predict all of Illumi's attacks. In the hall, Gon, Milluki and the housekeeper were watching the battle in surprise. They all thought that Illumi will be able to defeat Allan within 3 minutes, but no matter how he attacked, he couldn't land a hit on Allan. Allan didn't even need to defend as he dodged all of Illumi's attacks, which proved the difference in their strength. "What's the matter, Illumi, is this all you got?" Allan dodged Illumi's attack and mocked him. Illumi's face in a rare occurrence seemed angry. Illumi suddenly sent out a few needles which moved toward Allan like bullets. However, with observation haki, Allan dodged easily. But the needles weren't ordinary as they were attacked with Nen and controlled by Illumi. Once a needle lands, the target would fall under Illumi's control. Manipulation Nen is weird, unpredictable and comes with rules and conditions customized by the user. Therefore, even Allan didn't dare look down on Illumi's Nen ability. At this moment, Allan sneered, "Illumi, the 3 minutes are up." In the next second, just when Illumi realized the danger, Allan's fist enlarged in front of Illumi's eyes. Nail fist. Allan's fist slammed on Illumi's body, who countered using Ken to defend his body. Even so, Illumi's ribs cracked from the force, and under the nail fist, they broke. In the next second, Allan punched again and this time, Illumi was sent flying like a broken kite. Chapter 248, Tsukuyomi World. The hall was silent. Milluki, Gota and the other housekeepers were shocked. Master Illumi, Gota was full of cold sweat as he watched Illumi sent flying. "This is the first time I've seen Big Brother struggling this much. This Allan is really strong," Milluki said absent-mindedly. The rule of the fight was totally in Illumi's favor, but Allan still defeated him. No, it's not just defeat, Allan completely destroyed Illumi without the latter being able to touch him at all. The power gap was just too wide. Allan moved toward the downed Illumi and said, "Illumi, is this enough?" It took Illumi a while to get up from the ground, but he didn't answer. Allan frowned and asked, "Why do you still want to fight?" "Allan, although you have defeated me, I'm not convinced by your power. Therefore, the duel isn't over yet." Illumi wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Allan's eyes turned cold and said, "Do you want me to kill you? You should be very clear about the gap of strength between us. So I advise you to give up wisely, otherwise, I won't be merciful again." "You won't kill me," Illumi said with confidence. "Oh!" Allan sneered, "Why is that?" "The reason is very simple, I'm Killua's big brother, and you agreed to be Killua's friend, so you won't kill me. This is my intuition." "You're sure?" Allan smiled coldly. Seeing Allan's smile, Illumi shuddered. However, if he gave up like this, he would no longer be able to interfere with Killua's freedom, let alone control him. This isn't the result Illumi wanted. Allan seemed to read Illumi's mind and said, "Illumi, you're a manipulator-type Nen user, right?" "So what?" Illumi looked at Allan, not knowing he was getting it. "You think that by using your needles, you can control Killua like before, right? What about it?" "Hehe, then today, I will let you feel how being controlled by others feels like." Allan sneered. "You want to control me?" Illumi seemed as if he heard something funny. "Yes, you want to control Killua, then I will let you feel what it is like to be controlled by others." "Can you do it, though?" Illumi said in doubt as he was confident in his power. "You will see." In the next second, Allan's dark eyes suddenly turned into a pair of Mangekyo Sharinon. When Illumi glanced at those eyes, he could tell that they were very scary. And suddenly, Illumi found himself in Tsukuyomi. In this world, anything is controlled by the creator, including time. Where is this? Looking at the blood-red surrounding, Illumi was surprised as he asked. In this place, he couldn't feel any aura, nor does he see anyone or anything. He was also surprised to find himself tied to a cross with his hands nailed there. "Illumi, welcome to Tsukuyomi." Allan appeared in front of Illumi looking at him with a smile on his face. Tsukuyomi's world. Yes, this is my illusion world. The scene you are currently looking at is a space I created. So this is an illusion? So, I can get rid of it using some pain. Illumi tried to struggle, but unfortunately, he couldn't move. No way, he had tried to bite his tongue, stimulate his pain nerves and remove the illusion in front of him. However, even if he bit his tongue, and felt pain, it still had no effect. He found out that even with pain, he still couldn't get rid of the illusion. How is this possible? What's going on? Isn't this an illusion? Illumi stared at Allan and didn't know how Allan could do this. It's useless, this isn't an ordinary illusion. Even if you realize you're inside it, it's impossible to get out of my Tsukuyomi. Illumi looked at Allan's Mangekyo Sharinon and felt fear. What do you want? Illumi asked after calming down. Allan snorted, as you said before, I won't kill you, but I will make you suffer. If you give up now and promise not to make any strange moves in the future, I can let you go. Illumi looked at him coldly, you do whatever you want, but I won't admit defeat. Seeing that Illumi wasn't going to change his mind, Allan stopped talking. A katana appeared in Allan's hand from nowhere and the latter started the torture. Chapter 249, Power Gap. Listen well, in the Tsukuyomi world, I'm the only master. I can control everything, including time and space. Allan carried the katana and moved toward the crucified Illumi, then stabbed. Illumi felt the stab and blood filled the wound instantly. He lowered his head with a pale face. He wanted to use Nen to defend, but it was useless. He could feel the sharpness and coldness of the blade. This was real. He started wondering if this was really an illusion or reality. Was I stabbed by a sword or is this just my imagination? Doubt filled Illumi's head. Seeing Illumi's face, Allan stabbed again and again. After a while, Illumi's body was filled with injuries. These wounds weren't deep and didn't hurt any necessary organ, but it was still painful. However, even when he was being tortured, Illumi didn't let out a sound as he only frowned. Oh? You're really an assassin from the Zaldik family. You're well trained and your body can endure a lot of pain that can render ordinary people a mess. I admire that, but... Allan sneered, I'm the one doing the torture here, so it's different. You will be stabbed for 3 consecutive days, which means more than 30,000 stabs. So no matter how strong is your mind, you will suffer in the end. Illumi experienced 3 days in Tsukuyomi and his body was stabbed 32,453 times in total. Tsukuyomi is the ultimate illusion and an unsolvable one, because no matter how long the illusion stands, only a second will pass in reality. This means that Illumi experienced 3 days of torture in a matter of a second. So everyone watching outside couldn't tell that Illumi stayed 3 days under torture. As soon as the second passed, Illumi who was standing in front of Allan fell to the ground. What happened, Master Illumi? Gota stepped forward and helped Illumi up. He saw Illumi's face pale as if he experienced great pain. Allan, what did you do to Illumi? Seeing Illumi so weak, Milky asked Allan. Allan shrugged and said, nothing, I just let him feel what being controlled by others is and made him feel the pain from thousands of stabs. Thousands of stabs. Milky couldn't understand what Allan's words meant, but he could guess that in a short second, Allan did something which led to Illumi's weakness. Gota, take Big Brother to the infirmary first, Milky said. Yes, Master Milky. Gota nodded and took the frail Illumi then left. Allan didn't stop them. Illumi experienced Tsukuyomi which could destroy the strongest of minds. It would take him 10 to 15 months to recover. During this time, Killua will definitively come out. At this time, Illumi wanted to stop Killua from leaving, but he couldn't do anything now. Ding! You defeated Illumi. Reward, High Eyes Black Dragon Wave. Allan was overjoyed, the reward this time was really good. As far as he knows, the Black Dragon Wave is High Eye's strongest move in Yu Yu Hakusho, which let him summon a black dragon to attack. With this, Allan had an ultimate move. On the other side, the news of Illumi's defeat by Allan quickly spread and finally reached the patriarch of the Zaldik family, Silva. Silva, what are you going to do? That Allan dared to hurt Illumi, that's too much. Besides Silva, a woman dressed as a noblewoman gritted her teeth and said. Silva glared at her and said coldly, Kikyo, shut up. What? Am I wrong? Kikyo said puzzledly, but her eyes didn't meet Sylva's as she was scared. Sylva stayed silent for a while and said, Allan is Killua's friend, and Illumi has a certain obsession with Killua. This time, when Allan and Gon came over, Illumi was first to object about Killua leaving. Just now, Gota explained to me that Allan wasn't the one to initiate the duel and even added a condition which states, Allan can't attack in 3 minutes and can only dodge or defend Illumi's attacks. Under such a favorable condition, Illumi couldn't even touch Allan in all 3 minutes. With such weakness, it wasn't a wonder that Illumi would lose. Moreover, Gota said that Allan had a chance to kill Illumi, but he didn't because Allan regards Killua as a friend, and since Illumi is Killua's big brother, he tolerated him for Killua's sake. If Illumi didn't go too far, I don't think would do anything to him either. Hearing Sylva's words, Kikyo froze and said, what do you mean by those words? Illumi is your son. You're taking an outsider's side now. If Illumi knows about this, he will be very sad. As Illumi's mother, I won't say that you should kill Allan, but at least teach him a lesson for what he did to Illumi, right? Hearing this, Sylva snorted, even if it was me, I'm not sure that I can beat him. Moreover, once I take action, it will cause Allan to be more dissatisfied with the Zaldik family. Although we aren't afraid of anyone, we don't need to make an enemy with someone as strong as Allan. Do you understand? Kikyo said nothing. It was the first time that she heard Sylva give such a high evaluation of someone. Anyways, forget about what happened, and don't think about revenge, Sylva said seriously. Got it. Kikyo nodded reluctantly. But in her heart, she couldn't forgive Allan so easily. After all, although she didn't like Illumi that much, he was her son and said son was beaten by an outsider inside her own house. It was naturally impossible for her to leave this matter be. Chapter 250, Kalito's Request. As night fell, Allan and Gon were enjoying dinner in the lobby of the Zaldik mansion. The dinner included pasta, grilled meat, salad, and red wine. The Zaldik were very hospitable to Gon and Allan. Miluki was eating with them, along with Killua's mother, Kikyo, Killua's brother Kalito, and Sylva, Killua's father. As for Zeno, he didn't show up at all. The dinner went harmoniously and the atmosphere wasn't as serious as Allan imagined. As for Illumi's injury, Sylva didn't blame Allan and said that Illumi was the one who proposed the duel and made the rules in his favor but still lost. Allan was quite impressed by Sylva's mindset. Bringing the head of the family wasn't for ordinary people after all. In contrast, Kikyo was a little dissatisfied with Allan's attitude. She verbally addressed Allan several times at the table, but Allan casually responded to her or even ignored her. After the dinner, under Gota's arrangement, a dark-skinned housekeeper came to Allan and Gon. Mr. Allan, Mr. Gon, I'm a trainee butler from the Zaldik family. My name is Canary, please follow me. Allan and Gon followed Canary to the second floor. This village is dedicated to guests, there are 4 rooms here. Please choose one to stay in. Canary said. Allan chose the room with the mountain view, and Gon picked the one beside his. Since Killua still didn't come out of seclusion, Allan and Gon temporarily lived in the Zaldik family mansion. After staying for a few days, Allan wandered around the mansion, because he couldn't wait for Killua to come out and planned to find somewhere to train. After hearing Allan's plan, Sylva gave Allan a good place to train. There is a mountain range filled with monsters, strong ones. It's a good place to train. Strong monster? Sounds good. Allan decided to go. Before leaving, Allan found Gon and incited him to tag along, but Gon declined. Even though he wanted to go very much, he decided to wait for Killua to come out. The next morning, Allan decided to head toward the Thousand Mountain Range. However, when he walked out of the testing gate, he saw a boy in a purple kimono waiting. It was Kalito, Killua's younger brother. Why are you here? Allan was curious. I heard that you're going to train in the Thousand Mountain Range, Kalito said. Yeah. Allan nodded. I want to go with you. Kalito directly said. Allan was slightly surprised. Why do you want to go with me? Dad said that you're very strong, and he wanted me to train with you, Kalito explained. I see. Allan nodded, but he didn't think that Sylva will say that. Seeing Allan thinking, Kalito said, I have been to that mountain range before, and I know the way. Hearing this, Allan didn't answer. To be honest, he didn't want to take Kalito with him. Seeing this, Kalito became slightly worried and said, if you take me with you, I will call you teacher. Ding. Make a choice. 1. Agree to Kalato's request and take him to train together. Reward, Conjuration and Beast, Flying Dragon. 2. Refuse Kalato's request. Reward, 1000 nen. Allan thought for a bit and picked the first option. He looked at Kalato and said, I have 2 questions, you have to answer truthfully. Well, you can ask. The first question, have you joined the Genii Ryuudan? Kalato shook his head, I've heard about the organization, but I haven't joined, why do you ask? It's nothing, just a hunch that you may have joined or may join them in the future. Kalato sneered, they are a bunch of thieves, I won't join that kind of organization. Allan smiled and then said, the second question, are you a man or a woman? Hearing this, Kalato was stunned for a moment, then he looked at Allan with puzzlement and said, what kind of strange question is that? Answer me. Allan said. Kalato's expression changed as he didn't want to answer. But after a while, he reluctantly said, my identity is a male, but I'm a female. So you're a woman disguised as a man. That's right, no one except for my family knows this. Allan nodded without saying anything else. Now that I answered your questions, are you going to take me with you? Kalato looked at him expectantly. Allan nodded, yes. As Allan answered, he received his reward from the system. In the next second, he activated his new ability, Flying Dragon. Chapter 251, Mountain Range. Allan's new ability was both conjuration, manipulation, and emission. He can change his nen to look like a dragon and manipulate it. A golden dragon materialized in front of Allan as his nen surged out of his body. The best thing about the dragon was its ability to fly. The dragon's body was 15 meters long with a 2-meter long head, so I could carry 2 people easily. This ability is similar to Grandfather's dragon head, Kalato said. Allan smiled faintly as he thought of Zeno's ability. The difference between the two is that the flying dragon is an nen beast, while Zeno was just using manipulation of nen. Of course, Zeno could create an nen beast, but the dragon head wasn't an nen beast. Go to the 1000 mountain range. Allan gave his orders, and the dragon flew. Under Kalato's guidance, they reached the mountain range in 30 minutes. Compared to Kukuru Mountain, which is 4,000 meters above sea level, the mountain range was way bigger. This place is the Bins Mountain in the 1000 mountain range, it's about 2,800 meters above sea level. The beasts here are saber-toothed tigers and black panthers. Kalato explained. Allan nodded and dismissed his nen beast, then walked up the mountain. How are we going to train here? I just agreed to let you follow me, but I didn't say I will train you. Hearing this, Kalato became a little annoyed and said, you are obviously tricking me. So what? You said that as long as I brought you here, you will call me teacher. But looking at your attitude, it's clear that you don't think of me as a teacher. Teacher Allan, please help me train. Ding. Make a choice. 1. Accept Kalato's request and help her train. Reward, Armament Haki, Internal Destruction. 2. Reject Kalato's request. Reward, 3000 nen. Allan's eyes lit up, although he knew Armament Haki, he still didn't know how to use emission. And as far as he knows, emission allowed him to hit the target without directly touching them, which is similar to sending a shockwave. All in all, if he masters it, he will become stronger. Allan looked at Kalato and said, well, I will train you. Thank you, teacher. Kalato didn't hide her joy, after all, Allan's power was obvious. Let's start training, teacher. Kalato couldn't wait. Allan nodded and then made a hand sign, shadow clone. Clone. Seeing Allan's shadow clone, Kalato's eyes opened. Kalato thought that the clone was created by nen, but it was actually a shadow clone created by Chakra. Kalato, from now on, I will train you with my clone. Hearing this, Kalato was a little disappointed and said, are you just using a clone to fool me? Allan said, don't underestimate my clone, it has half of my power. I will work hard, Kalato said and lowered her head. Then I will go ahead, you can stay here and slowly train. After that, Allan left the current mountain and headed toward the next one, while Kalato stayed with the clone. After agreeing to Kalato's request, Allan directly received the reward from the system. Although he was only training her using a clone, it was still training her, as the system didn't specifically say he can't use one. With this, Allan can focus on his own training while his clone trained Kalito. The next mountain was 5,200 meters above sea level and was the highest mountain in the mountain range. This was also the most dangerous mountain here. Allan decided to master internal destruction of the armament Haki here, and the beast on the mountain were his test subjects. A giant beast appeared in front of Allan suddenly, but Allan raised his hand without panicking and blasted it with a shockwave. Suddenly, the beast was knocked out, and his eyes rolled back, dying in one blow. It's unexpectedly strong. Unlike normal Haki, internal destruction is far stronger and more effective. Moreover, he felt that the longer he trained, the stronger it will grow. It can also be used in other ways. Chapter 252, Going to Heaven's Arena. Half a month later, a booming sound was heard on top of a mountain in the mountain range. In the next second, the top of the mountain collapsed and rubble flew in all directions. Amidst the rubble, one person walked out. Allan finished his training after half a month. He raised his armament Haki to a new level. The entire mountain was bombarded by Allan. His power was already at a level that matched Garp. I don't know what happened to Kalito. Allan made a seal and removed the shadow clone. Suddenly, the shadow clone's memories returned to him and he knew where Kalito was current at. Nan beast, flying dragon. A huge golden dragon materialized in front of Allan as he jumped atop of it. The dragon soared into the sky toward Kalito. Seeing Allan appear, Kalito was puzzled. Are you teacher, or his clone? I have removed the clone just now, so of course, I'm your teacher. Hearing this, Kalito realized something. Is the training going to end? Well, almost, Allan said. That's it. Kalito was reluctant and didn't want her training to end here. But she could do nothing if Allan wanted to go back. From the clone's memories, Allan learned that Kalito trained in Nan in the past half a month. Although she was only 10 years old, she has been in contract with Nan since young. Kalito mastered the basics of Nan, and her Nan grew stronger as she mastered some advanced techniques. Let's go back, Allan said. After being away for half a month, he estimated that Killua should be out of seclusion. Teacher, thank you for training me in the past half a month. Kalito was satisfied with Allan's teaching and respected him. She knew that compared to half a month ago, she was significantly stronger, and all of it was thanks to Allan's training. If Allan didn't teach her, she wouldn't improve as much in just half a month. After returning to the Zaldik family, Kalito and Allan went directly to see Silva. Afterward, Allan asked about Killua and Gon. According to Silva, Killua already left with Gon in the past 2 days. Gon and Killua seemed to go to the Heavens Arena. If you want to see them, you can go there. That night, Silva hosted a banquet to thank Allan for training Kalito. The next morning, Allan walked out of the testing gate, preparing to leave. However, at the door, Allan saw Kalito waiting there. Do you want to go with me? Allan frowned and asked. Teacher is really smart. Kalito laughed. Allan glanced at her. The training is over, why are you still calling me teacher? There is a saying, a teacher for a day, a father for life. Teacher, you will always be my teacher. Kalito said sincerely. Allan said coldly, I won't buy that nonsense. Upon seeing this, Kalito kneeled down and begged Allan. Please, teacher, take me out with you to train. Kalito looked at Allan with expectation. Allan was about to refuse, but he heard the system once again. Ding! Make a choice. 1. Accept Kalito's request and take her out with you to train. Reward, Specialist Ability, Scarecrow. 2. Reject Kalito's request. Reward, 3000 Nen. For the sake of the reward, Allan had to agree to take Kalito with him. Listen, although I will agree to take you with me, you must obey everything I say, otherwise, you will go back. Yes, I will listen to teacher's words, and never disobey any order. Allan nodded. At least she was sincere and humble. He didn't think that Kalito would dare to disobey him after knowing how strong he was. By the way, teacher, where are we going now? On the way, Kalito asked. To the Heavens Arena, Allan said. Your brother, Killua, and Gon, went there, so let's go see them. Kalito raised her head and said, Heavens Arena? I heard that it is a world-famous paradise for fighters. A day later, Allan and Kalito arrived at the Heavens Arena, on top of the flying dragon. Teacher, have you been to the Heavens Arena before? Looking at the line of people waiting to register in the lobby, Kalito turned her head and asked. Well, of course, I have been here before, Allan said. It looks like a lot of people are here, and some of them are amazing, Kalito said. You go register first, after that, you start from the first floor. This is your first stop for training. Allan said. I understand. Kalito nodded. After an hour of queuing, Kalito successfully registered and became a fighter in the Heavens Arena. Chapter 253, Game. The Heavens Arena has 251 floors, and was 991 meters high, making it the fourth tallest building in the world. The weak had no chance of survival in this place. The rules stated that if someone registered for the first time, he or she needs to start from the first level. Outside the first floor's arena, Allan patted Kalito on the shoulders and said, Listen well, Kalito, since you want to follow me to train, then you have to meet my standards, okay? I see, please tell me, teacher. Kalito was curious about the standards Allan talked about. Remember, from now on, I want you to reach the 200th floor without using nen, only physical strength. Can you do that? I will abide by this rule and reach the 200th floor without using nen. Hearing Kalito's assurance, Allan nodded, then, I will go to the 200th floor and wait for you there first, I hope you don't let me down. After saying this, Allan took the elevator toward the 200th floor. Kalito entered the arena where 16 fighting rings were present for contestants. According to the rules, all contestants will first test themselves on the first floor, then the referee will decide which floor they should ascend. Kalito's first match was against Hercules. He won several national championships in a row and was known as the 7 champion. Like Kalito, this is Hercules' first time here. Around the arena, the 7 champions' fans were cheering while looking at Kalito in sympathy. After all, a little kid is going to fight Hercules, even if the kid was strong, he can't win. Because Kalito was restricted and can't use nen under the 200th floor, he could only fight with physical strength and skills. Although he had received professional assassination training as a child from the Zaldik family, Kalito was only 10 currently. When Allan restricted the usage of nen, it was impossible for her to kill Hercules in one shot. Interesting, I didn't expect to encounter such a strong foe in the first game. The Heavens Arena is really something. Kalito and Hercules started fighting. After a fierce fight, Kalito finally wounded his opponent using an assassination technique and won the fight. You're good, you can advance directly to the 50th floor. The referee held the promotion ticket which allowed Kalito's entry to the 50th floor. After that, Kalito participated in the second game and successfully advanced again. According to the rules, each advancement before the 200th floor was an increment of 10. So each time, Kalito would jump 10 or more floors after one fight. With Kalito's power, reaching the 200th floor without using nen won't be too hard, it will just take time. It may take a week or a month, but in the end, Kalito can reach the 200th floor. All in all, this is a kind of training for Kalito anyways. At this time, Allan quickly found Gon and Killua. After the two went through their training, they improved greatly. With their current power, they had the qualification to attack and win against floor masters. They already fought 7 matches without losing a single one. According to the rules, they needed another 3 games to win and they can challenge a floor master. During this time, Allan took his time and fought a few matches. Since he was already a floor master and was famous, the matches he participated in were all high-leveled. It's a pity for his opponents since if they weren't fighting him, they had a chance to actually become floor masters themselves. On the other hand, Kalito managed to reach the 200th floor after a month. When Kalito reached the 200th floor, Allan directly appeared in front of him. "Teacher, long time no see," Kalito said full of joy. Allan nodded. "Teacher, I obeyed your rule and fought without using until I reached the 200th floor." I know." Allan nodded without doubting Kalito even a little. "Teacher, what should I do now?" Kalito asked. "After reaching the 200th floor, you should be stronger now. Release your nen and let me see how strong you've become." "Yes, teacher." Kalito directly released her nen which exploded out of her body. Allan nodded, "Yes, you have passed the first phase of training. Now, I will teach you the advanced nen applications. First is Gyo." Chapter 254, Challenge. In the room, Allan explained to Kalito, Gyo is an advanced application of nen. It works by concentrating nen on a certain part of the body, for example the eyes, which allows you to see Nin even if it was hidden by in. Hearing this, Kalito asked curiously, what does it do? In is Zetsu's advanced Nin application, which can hide Nin even when it leaves the body. Hide it outside the body. To put it simply, it hides your Nin from others. And to see an opponent's Nin, you need Gyo. I didn't expect that there is still so much I don't know about Nin. Kalito said. I will demonstrate it now. Allan said. Okay. Kalito nodded. Allan activated in and said, keep your eyes open, can you see my Nin? Allan asked. Kalito looked closely but didn't see anything and shook her head, I don't see anything. Then, try attacking me with your Nin. Allan said. Attacking, teacher? Is it really okay to do that? Kalito felt that it was rude to attack her teacher and couldn't agree. Allan smiled faintly, it's okay, do you think that you can hurt me? Okay, here I come. Kalito didn't hesitate again and sent a palm strike toward Allan. The next second, Kalito felt that she hit a piece of armor and her strike didn't reach Allan. This is. Although she couldn't see Allan's Nin, Kalito could feel it around Allan's body with her palm. Allan smiled faintly, yes, this is in. I hid mine Nin so you can't see it, but it is still wrapping around my body. Awesome! Kalito exclaimed. Remember, in an in battle, all masters would use in, therefore, it's necessary to learn Gyo. I see. Kalito nodded. Listen well, I will give you week. If you can't learn Gyo by that time, then I will send you back to your family. I will definitively learn it in a week. Kalito quickly promised as she didn't want to go back just like that. At this time, Gon and Killua won 10 consecutive matches and were ready to fight a floor master. Each floor from the 221st to the 250th is owned by a floor master, which means there are 30 floor master and Allan is one of them. If Gon and Killua wanted to become floor masters themselves, they must challenge 2 floor masters. Only by defeating a floor master can they take his place. Under Allan's suggestion, Gon and Killua decided to challenge 29 of the floor masters, only leaving Allan. Of course, it's impossible for all of the floor masters to be present in the Heavens Arena. Quite a few of them were busy and had no time to accept the challenge. Currently, there are 12 floor masters, including Allan, which leaves 11 floor masters, but only 5 were willing to accept the challenge. However, Gon and Killua needed only 1 floor master, so each will fight one and the other 3 won't take part in the matches. However, these floor masters refused to just leave Gon and Killua go just like that. They believed that since Gon and Killua dared to challenge them, they should be prepared to fight. No matter what others said, the floor masters didn't want to back down, which troubled Gon and Killua. At this time, Allan just happened to be free and said that he will take them on himself. The floor masters heard of Allan's name and knew that he is a floor master like them and he was strong. But they thought that no matter how good he is, he won't be able to fight 3 of them at the same time. On the day of the matches, the building was bustling as people come from everywhere to see the fights. On the ring, Allan was already in place. Opposite to him stood 4 differently dressed men, they were the 221st, 230th, 236th, and 241st floors masters. Allan was calmed even when facing them without feeling any pressure. At this moment, the system's sound echoed in Allan's head. Ding! Make a choice. 1. Defeat the 3 floor master. Reward, Enhancement Type Nin ability, Big Bang Impact. 2. Kill the 3 floor masters. Reward, Specialist Type Nin ability, Decomposition. Big Bang Impact? Isn't that Yuvijan's ability? Allan was slightly surprised. Although Yuvijan's ability was strong, with Allan's current power, it's not helpful. Therefore, he chose the second option as he preferred that reward. He is very interested in the specialist's ability. Chapter 255, Rule. The rules of the Heavens Arena prevented more than a one-on-one fight. However, this wasn't an ordinary match, but a floor master's battle. Therefore, the rules can be changed. How do you want to fight? The 221st floor master stared sharply at Allan and asked. Because we have the number advantage, people will mock us if we win due to it, and we don't want to bully you, so you can choose the rules. The 230th floor master said. The other floor masters had no problem with this. After all, they were quite confident in defeating Allan with their numbers. No matter how Allan fights, it is impossible to win against them all. Therefore, they let Allan decide the rules. As long as he didn't choose something excessive, they will agree. Of course, this seemingly magnanimous behavior was due to their confidence in winning the match. In their eyes, Allan won't win no matter what kind of rule he made. Allan looked at the four of them and smiled, since I'm allowed to make the rules, then in this game, there is no restriction, nothing matters, it will be a life and death match, what do you think? Upon hearing this, the four of them sneered. Everything goes as long as you win, and a life and death match at that? Interesting. In other words, you want to fight to the death with the four of us, until you fall or we do. Allan nodded. In this game, only one side will walk off the ring, the loser will end up in the morgue. Will you accept those rules? Haha, interesting, I have to say, you're crazy. The four were surprised by Allan. A death match was to their advantage in the end, so they didn't object. They didn't think that Allan had the power to actually kill the four of them. Allan stared sharply at the four and said calmly, a piece of advice, you four can have a shot first before I kill you one by one. It's best if you show your best skills right from the start. Otherwise, you will regret not doing so. Hearing Allan's advice, the four floor masters became gloomy. What an arrogant guy. You're alone, and you think you can beat the four of us? Allan sneered, try it and you will know. The fight was about to start. The floor masters surrounded Allan and started their attacks. Allan didn't want to end the match quickly, so he held back and fought them. Bang! 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 All of a sudden, the five figures on the ring flew back and forth with their auras colliding. In terms of physical ability, those four were as strong as Castro. However, even fighting 4-1, Allan was still relaxed. The four floor masters quickly realized that Allan was strong and exceeded their estimations. They decided to go all out to ensure that Allan is the one who will lose in the end. Faced with the full power of the floor masters, Allan got a little serious. Of course, he was only a little serious with physical skills, he still didn't use the stronger abilities and skills. The floor masters decided to use Nin. The floor master of the 221st floor used his ability first. He was an enhancer and the most powerful of the four masters. His fighting style is simple, using his hands as a weapon, and he was good at close combat. His Nin ability can greatly increase his power in a short time, which he called explosive mode. He can last 3 minutes in this mode and his power increases 3 times. Allan wasn't surprised by this at all, instead, he expected it. After all, he faced many enhancers before and knew that their style may seem different, but in the end, it was straightforward with a lot of destruction involved. Right now, this explosive mode of the 221st floor's master was dangerous for anyone else, but unfortunately, he was facing Allan. Therefore, even with triple power, it wasn't enough to defeat Allan. Once the 3 minutes passed, the power boost ended. As soon as it did, Allan killed him with his lightning mode and then turned back. Seeing this, the floor masters became serious. Allan's speed was so fast, they could react at all. Chapter 256, Promotion. Bastard. Seeing the floor master die from a single move in Allan's hands, the 230th floor's master rushed angrily and activated his Nin ability. Suddenly a big sword appeared in his hand and it burst into flames instantly. The Nin used to conjure the sword had a fire property added to it, making the blade lit on fire. Allan didn't move and decisively activated his ice fruit power, countering the flame and freezing the blade instantly. What? Seeing this, the 230th floor's master cried in shock. Allan didn't let this chance go and attacked. Ice Age. Immediately, the entire arena froze and the 3 floor masters turned into ice sculptures. Allan broke the sculptures directly without waiting. Ding! You killed 4 floor masters and completed the task. You received a reward, Specialist Nin ability, Decompose. Through decomposition, the attribute or abilities of the target can be obtained. Allan was extremely satisfied with this ability. However, this ability had its limits as well, as not all things can be decomposed. Moreover, even if he successfully decomposed something, the power he will receive will be limited. On the other side, Killua and Gon's matches were raging like fire. After Allan finished his game, he watched the two of them at the same time on TV. The two of them competed at the same time. Gon's opponent was the 229th floor master, he was also an enhancer like Gon. Gon's ability, the Hajinkan, has improved very much in the last training he went through on Whale Island. After a fierce fight, Gon finally defeated his opponent and became the floor master of the 229th floor. Killua's opponent was the 238th floor master, who was an emitter. At this time, Killua mastered his transmutation ability and can change his Nen into electric current easily, and with it, he developed a series of moves, such as Lightning Palm, Thunderbolt and Whirlwind. Killua defeated his opponent without any surprise there and replaced him as the 238th floor master. Since Allan killed 4 floor masters, he was made the 250th floor master while he was the floor master of the 249th floor before. The floor master of the 250th floor was angry at being replaced and challenged Allan to take back his place. Allan was naturally not afraid of him, and after 3 days, the match between the two started. This floor master is called Abyss. He was completely covered in black and only his eyes could be seen. Both Gon and Killua were at the stands watching the match. In addition to them, several floor masters also came to watch the fight. After all, this was a match between 2 of the strongest in the Heavens arena. The audience exceeded 10,000 on site and off site, more than 100,000 viewers off site. The battle was highly anticipated. Abyss just wanted to defeat Allan and regain his place on the 250th floor. As for Allan, he won't just let go of his status, but he also wanted to see how strong Abyss was. Above the ring, Abyss activated his Nen. Immediately, a large amount of black mist gushed out of his body. In the blink of an eye, the black mist covered the entire arena and enveloped Allan as well. For a while, the audience could see nothing of the battle on the stage. On the ring, Allan, who was shrouded in black mist, was also unable to see anything with his eyes. As for Abyss, he took advantage of this and waited for an opportunity to launch a surprise attack at Allan. Allan didn't move at all. Although he can't see with his eyes, it didn't mean he can't see where Abyss was. However, Allan wasn't in a hurry. He quietly used his observation haki. In an instant, he locked into Abyss. Thor! Allan opened his hand and a bolt of lightning slammed into the Abyss's body. Abyss screamed as the black mist disappeared. The power of the rumble fruit already bombarded him without giving him a chance to attack. Chapter 257, Netero's phone call. 2 days later, Kalito found Allan and said, "Teacher, I have learned Gyo as you asked." Allan smiled and said, "So, now I will give you a second training goal." "What is the new goal?" "In a month, win at least 3 games on the 200th floor." "I see, I will go arrange for a match now. I will accompany you." Accompanied by Allan, Kalito arrived at the registration desk and arranged a match. After registering for the game, Allan took Kalito and went to Killua's floor, the 238th floor. Killua, who became the floor master, had a large luxurious guest room and a large training room. Seeing Allan walking with Kalito, Killua was surprised. "Kalito? Why are you here?" "I brought him here." "No, to be precise, he asked me to bring him here," Allan explained. Killua nodded. "So, you are training with Allan now?" "Well, yes, please give me some advice in the future, brother," Kalito said. "I really got goosebumps when I heard you call me brother." Killua shrugged. In the Zaldik family, the sibling wasn't that intimate with each other. If you want to talk about who's his closest sibling, Killua would say it was Aluka. Next would come to Miluki, and then Kalito, with Illumi coming last. "Brother, let's fight," Kalito said suddenly. "Fight me? Why?" Killua was puzzled. "I want to see the power gap between us," Kalito explained. Hearing this, Killua looked at Allan and asked, "There shouldn't be a problem, right?" "Yes, you two can compete however you want, I have no objection." With Allan's consent, Killua looked at Kalito and said, "Well, let's go." "I will do my best," Kalito said seriously. The two arrived in the center of the training area, with Allan being the referee of this match. After a fierce fight, the result was within Allan's expectation, as Kalito unsurprisingly lost to Killua. "Brother, you are much stronger than before." Although Kalito lost, she felt that the battle gave her a good experience. "I have gone through a very hard training course to achieve my current power. Although you lost, Kalito, sooner or later you will become like me and even stronger," Killua said. "Well, I will train hard and catch up with you as soon as possible," Kalito promised. The next day, while Kalito was participating in the match, Allan received a phone call. The person who called him was Netero, who only said one sentence. The location of the Ant King has been found. After Kalito's game was over, Allan talked with her. I have something that I need to do. During this time, you should stay in the Heavens Arena and train hard. Although Kalito didn't want Allan to leave, she had to listen to his words and stay here. After that, Allan found Killua and Gon again. Listen you two, I'm going to do something big this time, do you want to come with me? Upon hearing this, the two of them asked in unison, what's this big thing? The location of the Ant King has been found, I'm going to ask Chairman Netero to fight with the Ant King, what do you think? Is it a big deal? Asking to fight the Ant King? That's a super big deal. Can you really take us there? Gon asked. Of course, your power has improved greatly and it's time for some real combat training. Your task will be killing the king's subordinates. Will you fight the Ant King yourself? Killua asked. The chairman and I will take responsibility for that, Allan said. Then let go. Gon couldn't wait. Well, Allan nodded and activated his flying dragon. In the next second, the golden dragon appeared in front of them. That's just like Grandpa's dragon, it can fly right? Killua asked. Allan nodded, well, let's hurry to the Hunter Association. After more than half a day of flying with Gon and Killua on the flying dragon, Allan finally reached the headquarters of the Hunter Association. Led by Mr. Bean, Netero's secretary, all of them went to Netero's office. Netero was reviewing some documents and seeing Allan bringing Gon and Killua, he was a little surprised. Oh? You two are here as well? This old man remembers you, you're Killua, and you're Gon, right? It's not the first time Gon and Killua saw Netero, so they weren't surprised. Hello, Grandpa Chairman. Gon took the initiative to greet Netero. Killua had his attitude and wasn't respectful at all as he spoke. Hi, old man, it's been a long time. Haha, funny little kids. Netero was amused by the names those two gave him. Chairman, I will bring those two with me. You won't get angry, will you? Allan asked. Hehe, this old man isn't that stingy. Netero grinned. Grandpa Chairman, we are here to help. Gon said. Yes, old man, when we were in the NGL, we followed Kite to fight the Chimera ants, we have some experience in that area. Although we went back because we weren't strong enough, we trained a lot and became a lot stronger now, so we can help. Killua said. Allan also said, Chairman, the two of them are indeed stronger now. If you don't believe me, you can check their current strength. Hearing this, Netero's eyes squinted and carefully looked at Gon and Killua. Chapter 258, Departure. Netero looked at Gon and Killua intently and said, if you want to follow Allan, this old man needs to test your power. Hearing this, Gon and Killua nodded at the same time and said, no problem. Now, release Yornan and let me see how far have you got in your training, Netero ordered. Gon and Killua looked at each other and then released their Nen in a horse stance. Immediately, their Nen burst out of their body like flames. Netero smiled slightly and said, yes, it seems like you two have indeed become stronger. From your Nen, I can feel your vitality. The vitality symbolizes youth, something this old man lacks. Yes, after all, you're over 100 years old already, Killua commented. Chairman, now that you've seen our power, can we follow along? Gon asked with expectation. Since you want to tag along, then you can come. Netero agreed. Seeing Netero agreeing, Allan said, Chairman, it shouldn't be too late, so let's go now. Netero nodded and said, well, the airship should be prepared outside, let's take it and go. Good. Allan agreed. Originally, he intended to conjure the flying dragon directly, but since there is an airship, that's better. On the airship, Allan said, Chairman, where is the Ant King right now? Netero replied, according to reports from Kite and Morel, the Ant King is in a place called Republic of East Gordo. Republic of East Gordo. Netero said, it's a small country, its leader is named Ming Jolet. According to our investigations, Gordo's army was completely wiped out, even its commander, Ming Jolet, is dead. The Ant King is in charge of that place right now. Hearing this, Allan frowned slightly, it seems that the Chimera ants that were almost eliminated by me in the NGL were revived again under the leadership of the Ant King. I don't know how many they have right now or how far they multiplied. This time, we must eliminate them, Netero said. After more than 10 hours of flying, Allan and his team arrived at their destination. Allan, Netero, Gon, and Killua descended from the airship. "Where are we?" Killua asked after looking around. "This is the forest at the border of the Republic of East Gordo," Netero replied. "Where are Kite and the others right now?" Gon asked. Netero took out a map and handed it to Allan and said, "This is Gordo's map, Kite and the others are currently hiding here." Netero pointed at a town on the map. "In that case, we should rush over and join them," Killua said. Allan looked at the map and said, "There are 2 routes from here to that town, one is from the mountain, and the other is following this river. If we take the mountain's road, we must pass through various towns on the way. The entire trip is about 350 kilometers, if we walk, we'll need 2 days to get there. If we speed up, we can cover the distance in a day, and going at full speed, it will take half a day." Netero said, "Let's take the mountain road, let's speed up a little and try to get there by tomorrow night." "Then again, why don't we just go there with the airship?" Gon asked in confusion. Kite reported that the Chimera ants controlled most of the country. "If we use the airship, we will be spotted easily. Therefore, we need to take this path ourselves as to not draw the enemy's attention to us." Gon nodded and stopped asking. Allan said, "Then, let's set off now, I will take the lead." The group of 4 started moving toward their destination. "When passing through any urban areas, if there are Chimera ants nest, we destroy them as quickly as possible," Allan said. Netero replied, "For me to fight the Ant King, I need to save as much energy as possible. Gon and Killua can deal with those soldiers." "No problem." Killua and Gon nodded eagerly at the same time since they wanted to fight as soon as possible. Chapter 259, Surprise Attack. After 2 hours, Allan and his group arrived at a city in the north of Gordo. It was 3 a.m., and the entire city was shrouded in darkness. "Strange, why is there no one here?" On the road, Gon couldn't help wondering. It wasn't just Gon who had his doubt, but the other 3 as well. Although it's late, humans should be asleep at this time, but Allan and the other didn't feel anything from the buildings at the moment. The city seemed dead. Allan looked at Netero and said, "Either they were all killed, or the Chimera ants took them as livestocks." "Allan and all, let's meet Kite and Morel. They should be familiar with the current situation," Netero said. At this moment, Killua, who was paying attention to the movement ahead, said, "They're here, the Chimera ants." Allan and the others looked and saw a group of Chimera ants from the corner of the street ahead. But they were just ordinary soldiers without any strong ones. "What do we do?" Killua asked. "Of course, we kill them," Gon said. "Killua, you deal with those soldiers, and Gon, stay around and help if it's needed," Allan instructed. "No problem." Killua nodded. Gon was puzzled, "Why don't I attack as well? It's just a dozen of those ants, Killua should be enough to deal with them, you preserve your energy for later," Allan explained. Hearing this, Gon didn't complain, "I understand, Killua, go ahead and deal with them." "Well, I will deal with them quickly." In the next second, Killua activated his god speed, and his whole body flushed with the electric current before he disappeared. The Chimera ants patrolling just noticed Killua in front of them. The snake awakens. With the help of Godspeed, Allan displayed one of the Zaldik family's assassination technique as he waved his hands and dismantled the Chimera ants. It only took Killua 10 seconds to get close to the Chimera ants and kill them. "Impressive," Gon said with admiration. "Ha ha ha, Killua's Nen ability looks good." He turns his Nen into electric current, quickening his movement and reflex, coupled with the Zaldik's assassination techniques, makes it even more dangerous. Netero laughed. "It's really good." Allan smiled with satisfaction at Killua's performance. After solving the Chimera ants, the 4 continued to advance. Not long after, they encountered another patrol team. "Let's do the same, Killua, you deal with them," Allan said. In the next second, Killua attacked the patrol team and killed them without giving them a chance to report back. Just as they were about to continue forward, an angry roar sounded. "You intruders, stop!" The 4 stopped and looked at the source of the sound. At the end of the street, a monster with a human face blocked its way. Behind the monster, there were 30 or 40 Chimera ants. "It looks like a big fish is here," Netero said. "It's a pity that they aren't strong enough for me to make a move. Looking at that guy's aura, it should be a squadron leader." "Killua, same rules, go deal with him. Allan said. Is it a squadron leader? No problem then. Killua stood up, ready for action. At this moment, Gon stood up and said, Killua, leave it to me this time. Hearing this, Killua looked at Allan asking for his opinion. Allan nodded and said, no problem, Gon has also become stronger. Since he wants to deal with them, let him do so. Well, Gon, you can destroy this squadron leader and I will deal with the ant soldiers. Killua shrugged. Here I go. Gon directly released his nen and rushed forward. Killua followed behind. Netero was enjoying the show in front of him. Well, this is good. Netero laughed. When Gon and Killua rushed forward, the squadron leader shouted angrily, intruders, I will kill you. The squadron leader released his nen and attacked. The aftermath of the fight destroyed all the buildings on the side. Chapter 260, Forward. After a few minutes of fighting, Gon gained the upper hand and firmly suppressed the squadron leader. Gon, end the battle, Killua said not far away with dozen chimera ants' corpses around him. Gon nodded and said, then, I will end the fight in the next attack. Gon took his Hajinkan stance. As a large amount of nen poured into his fist, dazzling light exploded out of it as he punched the squadron leader. The squadron leader could do nothing and he was punched and exploded. Gon, your Hajinkan is something, Killua said. Killua, you're too fast yourself. Gon complimented. Okay, you two, don't start inflating your ego, we should move ahead, Allan said. Allan and his party continued on their way. After half an hour, they passed the city and moved toward the next town. After reaching another city, Allan activated his observation haki, covering 1 kilometer. Even if someone is hiding in the building, he can't escape Allan's detection. Soon enough, Allan discovered a group of ants inside a building. Not only that, there are humans inside as well. Follow me. Allan walked toward one of the buildings. Gon, Killua and Netero followed behind. Soon, Allan found the group of chimera ants, with humans locked inside iron cages with hundreds of bones piled up outside. Around the hall, 30 or 40 chimera ants were gnawing on the bones. Seeing this, Allan snorted and activated his rumble fruit and fried the ants. Damned human being, who are you? An angry voice sounded as a chimera ant glared at Allan. The ant didn't wait for a response as he condensed nen on his horns and attacked with a beam. In the next second, an energy beam turned black and headed toward Allan. Allan snorted coldly as he pointed his finger ahead. 30 million volt, Vari. A lightning bolt collided with the energy beam, overpowered it and blasted at the ant's body. The chimera ant's horn was destroyed and the lightning killed him. There were still survivors in the city, and only a few days ago did the ants arrive here. They put the humans in iron cages and ate them one by one. If Allan and the others didn't come here soon, all the humans would have been eaten. Allan guessed that the last city encountered the same situation here and they were late to save anyone. They were either eaten or locked up and transported away. As for where they were transported, it should be to the Ant King. After all, as their king, the chimera ants had to give part of their spoils to him. At this time, Gon, Killua and Netero rushed over. Allan explained what he found and then walked out of the building. Let's keep going. What about those people? Gon asked. We still have things to do, we can't take them away, let them leave by themselves. I dealt with the chimera ants here anyway. Gon didn't complain as he looked at the rescued humans and said, this country has been occupied by monsters, you should run away and don't come back. The party continued forward and soon passed another city. The same happened here as a large number of residents were captured and locked up, or were already eaten. This time, Allan didn't make a move himself, he just let Gon and Killua deal with the ants. The two cooperated. Killua would deal with the soldiers and Gon would deal with the squadron leader. Killua was faster, so he can deal with the soldiers quickly, while Gon would deal with the squadron leader with a well-placed punch. After that, the party continued forward to the next city, and the process continued as they eliminated the chimera ants on their way till they joined and Kite and Morel, then attacked the Ant King. Chapter 261, Meeting. When dawn broke, Allan and his party reached the last town before joining with Kite and his group. However, as soon as they reached this town, they were surrounded. There were more than 400 chimera ants stationed there, including 4 squadron leaders. At this moment, Each squadron leader led 100 Chimera ants and surrounded Allan's party. The Chimera ant leading this operation was sitting in the rear. If Allan and the others moved forward, they need to deal with the Chimera ant soldiers. Hehe, do you want this old man to take action? Netero asked. When he saw the Chimera ants' number, he suggested dealing with them himself. Allan shook his head indifferently and said, "Gone, Killua, chairman, don't do anything, I will deal with them in an instant." "Oh? How will you do that?" Netero was a little curious. To get rid of the Chimera ants' soldiers quickly, you would need a strong long-ranged attack like my grandfather's dragon head or my father's explosion orbs, Killua said. "I'll freeze them," Allan said lightly. "Freeze them? Can you do it?" Netero exclaimed in surprise. "No problem," Allan said seriously. "When I count to 3, jump to avoid being frozen." "Understood." Gon and the others replied. When Allan said 3, Gon, Netero, and Killua jumped up. Allan directly activated his devil fruit and said coolly, "Ice Age." In the next second, with Allan as the center, 5 kilometers of land froze. The Chimera ants surrounding them, along with the leaders, didn't have time to react as they froze. "Wow, that's amazing, everything froze in an instant." Netero and the other landed on the ground and were amazed by Allan's power. "Let's continue," Allan said nonchalantly. The group continued toward the next town and after 3 hours, they arrived at Kite and his party's location. "Where's Kite and the others?" Gon asked. "Well, we may need to search for them, this old man isn't sure," Netero replied. "Chairman, besides Kite, who are the others joining us?" Killua asked. "Beside Kite, there are Morel, and his student, partner Nove, along with his students Knuckle and Shoot. There are also the food hunter Menchi, and Boera. Oh, there is also one of the 12 zodiacs." Killua commented, "So, there are 8 people on Kite's side now, and 4 on our side, in total there are 12. 12 people going to destroy the Chimera ants and their king, is there any chance of winning?" "I don't know, probably 50% chance. As long as the king is killed, the other ants won't matter," Allan explained. "That's right, but the ant king should be very strong, can chairman deal with it alone?" Killua asked. "Don't worry Killua, if the chairman can't do it, there is Allan," Gon said. "Oh, you're right." Killua nodded and wasn't worried anymore. "Let's look for Kite and the others now," Allan said. "This place is quite big, it won't be easy to find them," Netero said. "Let me do it." Allan released his observation haki, covering over 2 kilometers with his at the center. Allan suddenly found a few auras, but it seems like they belonged to the same person. The next second, Allan saw dozens of white humanoid objects appear around them. "Well, those are..." "That's Morel's Nin ability, Purple Haze Soldiers." Netero recognized it at a glance. "Which means, Morel is nearby." Sure enough, Allan soon felt familiar auras coming toward them. "They're coming," Allan said. Soon, a tall figure rushed over, which was Morel. "Chairman." Seeing Netero, Morel was stunned for a moment, then laughed, "Haha, Chairman, you're finally here." "Morel, where are Kite and the others?" Netero asked. "Kite is in Nove's 4-dimensional mansion, he is injured," Morel said. "Injured?" Morel's words made Netero and the others frown. "How did Kite get injured, is it serious?" Gon asked. "He is injured from fighting the Chimera ants, and he didn't wake up yet." "When did he get injured?" Allan asked. "Yesterday," Morel replied. "Morel, what about the others?" Netero asked. "Everyone is hurt, but it's not a big problem, they weren't seriously injured, and currently they are recuperating inside Nove's 4-dimensional mansion." "It's just..." "Just what?" Netero asked. "Unfortunately, one of us died." Morel sighed. "Who died?" Netero asked gloomily. "Boera," Morel replied. Chapter 262, Kite. Hearing Morel stating that Boera died, Netero, the chairman of the Hunter Association, sighed sadly. "Morel, what happened?" Allan asked in a deep voice. Gon and Killua also cast a curious glance at Morel. They both wanted to know what kind of enemy did Kite and Boera fight. Morel took his pipe and took a few puffs before saying slowly, "It was yesterday, Kite and I." A few minutes later, Allan and the others finally understood what happened and how Kite was injured. It turned out that yesterday, Kite and the others were surrounded by chimera ants when they were trying to rescue the residents of the area. So Kite and the other fought against the ants and eliminated a lot of soldiers, but a powerful ant appeared. He was called Caesar. Even Kite was no match for him head-on. During that battle, Kite was injured. In addition to Caesar, several powerful squadron leaders appeared, which caused Knuckle, Shoot, and Menchie to suffer. The situation was serious, and if they don't escape, they will have to face a whole army. At that moment, the key member for their escape, Nove, was scared senseless by the aura released by Caesar, thus losing their chance to escape. Originally, with Nove's ability, they could enter the four-dimensional mansion quickly when they were surrounded, but no one expected Nove, a professional hunter, to have such poor psychology. Just by the powerful aura of his enemy, he froze and lost the ability to fight or even the courage to escape. This mistake was a fatal blow to Kite and the others. In order to prevent everyone from dying and give the others a chance to escape, Boera self-destructed, injuring Caesar. Nove, who witnessed Boera's self-destruction, was deeply shocked and finally calmed down from his fear and activated his Nin ability, bringing everyone along and fleeing. Boera is a hero. Gon said after listening to Morel. Yeah, that fat man is indeed a man, Killua said in admiration. He saw Boera in the hunter exam. Although he wasn't familiar with him, he admired his self-sacrifice to save everyone. Because of his heroic sacrifice, Kite and the others managed to escape. That's what an excellent professional hunter should be like. Netero sighed. Allan sighed and said, "Don't worry, we're here now, no one will need to sacrifice himself." Morel nodded, he believed that Netero and Allan were strong. The former was the chairman of the Hunter Association, and one of the strongest men in the world, while the latter is a rising star that killed 2 royal guards and nearly wiped the ants from existence. With them here, even if there are powerful monsters on the Chimera ants' side, they can fight them. Soon, under Morel's guidance, Allan, Netero, Gon, and Killua entered Nove's four-dimensional mansion. Kite was lying on the bed with a place face. Kite was hit by an aura bomb fired by Caesar. He is still in a coma, I don't know when he will wake up, Morel said. Allan, is there a way to save Kite? Gon turned his head and asked. Ding! Make a choice. 1. Promise Gon that you will help save Kite. Reward, fire release, great fire annihilation. 2. Don't save Kite, saying you can't do it. Reward, 1000 Nin point. Even if the system didn't give him a reward, he planned on saving Kite. But since there is a reward, he would take it anyways. Allan activated his holy blessing of light. Golden light flickered out of him and an angel manifested. Master, what's your order? Raphael, help me save my friend, he is injured and unconscious, Allan said. Understood. Soon, under the healing effect of Raphael, Kite, who was in a coma, slowly opened his eyes. Kite, are you all right? Gon asked from the side. Kite smiled, his body fully healed. Thanks, Allan, you saved me again, Kite said. It's nothing, don't worry about it. Allan smiled. Although it cost him a lot of energy to wake Kite up, it was worth it. Moreover, he even got the Great Fire Annihilation technique. Chapter 263, Current Situation. After Kite recovered from his injuries, Allan asked him about the ant named Caesar who injured him. Originally, after the NGL extermination team finished their mission a month ago, almost all Chimera ants were wiped out. Except for the Ant King, there shouldn't have been any powerful ants. But they miscalculated, as the Chimera ants they encountered yesterday made them understand that in addition to the king, there are other terrifying ants. The monster named Caesar had an aura similar to the 2 guards we encountered in the NGL before, Kite said seriously. Hearing this, Allan frowned. As far as he knew, the Ant King had 3 guards in total, Pitu, Yuppie, and Poof. As early as 2 months ago, Allan killed Pitu and then Yuppie in the NGL. But according to Kite's description, the ant called Caesar is as strong as the guards. It seems that in 2 months, new guards were born. That monster named Caesar should be a new guard to replace the other 2. New guards? Kite was surprised. Allan said, as far as I know, there were originally 3 guards, and I killed 2 of them in the NGL, logically, there should be only 1 left. But it seems that another guard was born. So how many guards do you think they have now? Kite asked. There should be 3, in addition to Caesar, there should be another one replacing one of the dead guards. Allan guessed. Among the chimera ants, only the queen can give birth, so the queen is alive, Kite said seriously. Allan nodded. The tricky problem is that if the queen isn't killed, the chimera ants won't go extinct. Even if you kill a monster like Caesar, it will take a long time to give birth to a new one. To completely eradicate their colony, the queen should be killed. That's right. Kite thought so as well. Morel said, the queen has the ability to give birth, which means, it is like a mother to all ants and it won't be easy to kill it. Don't worry, I will be the one to kill the queen. Then, I will leave it to you, Kite said. Before we act, we must first understand the current situation. Allan looked at Kite and asked, how long do you think it will take to sneak in and investigate? I infiltrated this place 10 days ago, and at first, I was alone. When I found the chimera ants invaded here, I asked for Morel and the others' support. So, in these 10 days, you are clear about the current situation of the chimera ants? Allan asked. Yes. Kite nodded before he started explaining the current situation. According to him, Gordo was occupied by the chimera ants king, and hundreds of towns fell under his soldiers. There were 5 million citizens in this country, and hundreds of thousands became food to the ants. A few fled and hid in the mountains, but all in all, Gordo became a nest for the chimera ants. What do we do now? Killua asked. Destroy them, of course. Knuckle clenched his fist and shouted. Yes, we must kill all of them, and we must not let them harm any more people. This time, we must wipe them out completely, without letting anyone go. Kite said. The question is, how to eliminate them? You know, they have at least, tens of thousands of them occupying the country, is it really possible with just us? Menchi expressed her concern. Do you want to get some backup from the association? Morel asked. It would be a good idea to ask the 12 zodiacs to come here, Nove said. Kite looked at Netero and asked, Chairman, you are the president of the association, please give instruction. Netero laughed and said, this time, I'm only here for the Ant King. As for the other ants, I can only leave them to you guys. Before the duel with the king, I must try my best to stay out of fights, so I can meet the king in my best state. So if you want me to help, I can't help at the moment. As for returning to the association to find the 12 zodiacs, it can't be done, those guys don't want to risk their lives like this. Netero then looked at Allan and said, as for what to do now, it's up to you, Allan. You're letting my command? Isn't this bad? Allan asked. Netero smiled, he, Allan, don't decline. Now, please take my place to command this team. Hearing this, Allan no longer shied away and nodded, well, I will be in command of this operation then. He looked at Kite and the others and asked, do you have any objection? Naturally, they had none. Even though Allan was young, he was the strongest out of them. In some eyes, like Kite's, Allan may very well be stronger than Netero already. There shouldn't be any problem under his command. Then, let's discuss our plan, Allan said seriously as if he was a general. Chapter 264, Plan. After that, Allan gathered everyone and started formulating a plan. Judging from the current situation, we must first destroy the chimera ants in the surrounding towns one by one, and rescue the residents. After that, we form a net and surround the king's palace step by step, before finally attacking their base. Kite and the others didn't have an objection to Allan's plan, so he continued. First, we're going to separate ourselves into groups of 2. After some discussion, the teams formed were, Allan, Menchi are the first team, Kite, Gon, and Killua, the second team, Netero and Nove, the third team, and finally, Morel, Knuckle, and Shoot are the fourth team. After forming the teams, Nove opened his fourth-dimensional mansion for everyone to get out. After that, each team went in a different direction. As a team leader, Allan was first to take action, so he directly set off toward the eastern city with his partner, Menchi. Although Gordo was a small country, there were hundreds of towns inside it, though there didn't have big cities. But because there are a lot of them, it's a waste of energy for Allan to liberate every last of them. However, to eradicate the chimera ants, this has to be done. Their goal is to not let any chimera ant escape. On the other side, inside the palace, Miruem was playing chess with a young girl with a runny nose. The Ant King has a high talent for learning, and in a short period, he defeated famous chess players in Gordo, until he encountered this girl. He suffered his first ever loss. At the same time, a few hundred kilometers away, Allan brought Menchi to the eastern part of the country. The town here was gloomy with no one around. The Chimera ants invaded this town. To quickly wipe out the ants, Allan directly released his aura to attract them out. This is amazing, and it's emitted by a human, is it an intruder? A few kilometers away from Allan, a creature with a sharp horn suddenly looked back. Even though it was far away, it could feel Allan's aura. This ant is called Sark, a squadron leader, and was dispatched a week ago by Poof to this town. Today, it rules the town with 300 other ants under it. After feeling Allan's aura, it was provoked. This human is deliberately releasing his aura, he wants to attract our attention. Humph, it seems like he is confident in his power. Sark laughed instead of being angry. Soon all 300 soldiers ants gathered around him. Let's go kill the intruder. Sark gave the order and the troops moved toward Allan. The ants were territorial. Since someone invaded their territory, they won't tolerate them. On the other side, after releasing his aura, Allan quickly noticed the Chimera ants rushing toward him. A few minutes later, the soldiers led by Sark appeared. The prey followed my aura, Allan said with a smile. There are quite a few of them, a few hundreds maybe. Menchi said. The one in front should be their leader. Allan's eyes locked at Sark. At this moment, Sark released his aura. Interesting, let's see how strong he is. Allan was ready to attack. However, at this moment, Menchi said, Allan, can you let me start the first battle? Why? Allan wondered. If it's him fighting, he can guarantee that the fight will end quickly. Because, you are our trump card, you have to preserve your strength for following battles, is that good enough reason? Menchi said. Ding. Make a choice. 1. Be a bystander and let Menchi kill the Chimera ants. Reward, 1000 demon daggers. 2. Let Menchi watch the battle as you destroy the group of Chimera ants. Reward, Mito, Shiger. Allan took the first option, not because of the 1000 demon daggers, but because he couldn't refuse a woman's request. Chapter 265, Demon. Then, you settle the first battle. If you can't handle it, I will interfere. Allan said. He was also curious about Menchi's way of dealing with several Chimera ants. Well, look closely, I will get rid of all those ants, Menchi said confidently. In fact, as a one-star hunter, Menchi wasn't weak. She once went into some dangerous places in the world seeking delicacies and encountered countless life and death situations. In other words, she already had enough power to deal with strong foes. In addition, she had a good head above her shoulders. Allan received his reward from the system and took it out. The 1000 demon daggers is a sword that can separate its razor-sharp shards and control them telekinetically. Menchi noticed the sword in Allan's hand but didn't think much. She had to focus on her enemies. There is about 300 Chimera ant, and they were 100 meters away from Allan and Menchi. It's time, at such a close distance, they won't be able to escape. Immediately, Menchi activated her Nen ability. The Nen in her body was like red flames as she shouted, "Come out!" In the next second, a huge dark red iron gate appeared on the street. The gate was filled with drawings of demons. The red gate slowly opened and Allan narrowed his eyes, is something coming out? Then, he saw a creature with 3 heads walking out of the gate. This is... Allan was surprised when he saw the monster. That's Cerberus, the 3-headed dog of hell, Menchi said. Menchi's Nen ability is called Hell's Gate, as its name suggests, she can open a gate and summon demons from hell. However, each summoned demon will be different. Sometimes, only a weak demon is summoned, and sometimes it was a powerful monster. This time, she summoned the 3-headed dog, Cerberus. Go, Cerberus, they are your food. Menchi pointed at Sark and the other ants and issued her orders to the 3-headed dog. With a roar, Cerberus rushed out quickly. At the end of the street, Sark sensed danger and the Cerberus jumping up. It's too late for the soldiers to dodge, but Sark dodged. Each time a head bit on the ants, it would at least swallow half of it and the second bite will completely devour it. The Cerberus was like a hungry wolf running into a group of sheep, devouring them one by one. The ants tried to fight back, but they weren't strong enough. They were indeed stronger than normal humans, but at the moment, they were facing a demon from hell, which is a monster more terrifying than them. The attacks of the ant soldiers were tickling Cerberus instead of dealing damage. In just 2 minutes, hundreds of ants were eaten. Sark, the squadron leader, looked at the remaining soldiers and roared angrily, "Cut off its head for me." Amongst the soldiers, there were some good seedlings, stronger than normal soldiers at the same rank, and their attack can break through Cerberus' defense. However, they could only do so little before they are killed by the dog. The soldiers couldn't kill the 3-headed dog from hell, because they're not on the same level. "I will do it myself." Sark jumped up and appeared above one of Cerberus' heads. He relied on his superior physical power and swords-like arms to attack the dog. Sark successfully cut off one of the dog's heads and retreated. "Did I succeed?" After the attack, Sark cautiously looked at the dog. However, in the blink of an eye, the Cerberus head which was cut off started recovering at a great speed. "What?" Sark staring at this scene in disbelief. Chapter 266, Operation starts. "Damn it! Let me see how many heads you can grow!" Sark shouted angrily, his hands turning into blades as he slashed at Cerberus. One of Cerberus' heads attempted to bit Sark. Sark swung his bladed hands, blocked the huge fangs and then jumped back while chopping off another head. As expected, the severed head grew back once again. Sark snorted coldly and waved the blades, sending a sharp energy attack and cutting 2 heads. However, the same as before, the heads grew back almost instantly. Sark didn't give up and kept on cutting the Cerberus heads. But, after a while, he was knocked down by the Cerberus. Before he could get up, the Cerberus already opened one of its mouths and took a bite. Immediately afterward, Sark screamed as he was devoured by the Cerberus. With this, the Chimera ants in this town were completely wiped out. After that, Allan and Menchie spent half an hour looking for and rescuing the residents of this place. On the other hand, Kite's team and Morel's team were having their first fight. Nove was just letting the ants enter his 4th-dimensional mansion and handing them over to Netero to solve. After 2 days, Allan and the other had almost freed all town, eliminated thousands of Chimera ants, and saved millions of people. Afterward, they gathered together and were ready for the attack on the Ant King. However, before that, they went back inside the 4th-dimensional mansion to adjust their mental state before the fight. According to the information they had, the Ant King lived in the palace inside Gordo's capital. At this time, the Ant King, Miruem, was still playing chess with Komuji. The Ant King was extremely focused on the game as he wanted to win against this girl. Every time he was about to win, Komuji would turn the table around and win the game. This made Miruem understand one thing: there are many kinds of strength out there. For example, Komuji was extremely strong in chess, but she was physically strong. But the king still felt that his kind of strength is the best. "Your Majesty!" At this moment, a shout broke Miruem from his train of thoughts. "What's the matter?" The king looked at the one making a report and asked. It was one of the king's guards, Poof. "King, among the humans who came this time, there are some who are very strong, and the troops we sent out to support the various towns were wiped out. We're running out of soldiers. The humans are expected to attack the palace soon." After hearing this, Miruem's face turned gloomy and snorted coldly, "Mere humans dared to come to attack this king, they are seeking their own doom. Your Majesty, what should we do? Please give your orders." Poof asked. Miruem replied, "Don't they want to kill this king? Then let them come, and this king shall wait for them in this place. I want them to understand what a real ruler is. With your Majesty making a move yourself, those humans won't stand a chance," said another guard beside Poof. "He is the new guard replacing Pitu, and his name is Naro. Other than him, there is also the guard named Caesar." "BTW, where did Caesar go?" asked the Ant King. "He is guarding outside the palace, Your Majesty," Poof replied. "Then send out my orders. Destroy every human who comes here to attack us. Don't let them take even half a step into the palace." "Yes, we will definitively eradicate those humans," Poof replied as he knelt on the ground. Meanwhile, inside Nove's 4th-dimensional mansion, Allan and the others were discussing the plan for the final attack on the ants. "Nove, is there an exit inside the palace?" Nove shook his head and said, "The palace is covered by the other party's so I couldn't set an exit there. However, I have set up an exit in the woods a few kilometers away from the palace." Allan nodded and said, "Then, let's check our plan for the last time." The operation will start at 9 p.m., and currently, it was 8:50 p.m. In the forest, a few kilometers away from the royal palace, a black hole suddenly appeared. Then, several figures jumped out of the black hole. The extermination team was about to make a move on the Ant King. Chapter 267, Heaven's Eye. It was late at night and the sky was as dark as ink. In the forest, Allan and the others exited from the fourth-dimensional mansion of Nove. Nove, how far are we from the palace? Allan asked. About 4 to 5 kilometers. Nove pushed his glasses. Although Nove has the ability to set the entrance closer to the palace, he didn't in fear to get caught. Therefore, he can only set the entrance far away from the detection of the Chimera ants. Allan, are we going directly to the palace to fight the Ant King? Gon asked. Allan didn't answer directly, but looked at Netero behind him. Chairman, what do you think? Netero pondered for a while, then he stroked his goatee and said, well, if possible, it's best to wait and see the situation before taking action. For example, the specific location of the Ant King in the palace, and the guards around him. However, in this case, we must find a way to approach the palace, Morel said. Nove said, if Palm Siberia was here, her ability the lonesome deep-sea fish, or wink blue, it would be useful, but unfortunately, I didn't bring her over this time, my bad. Morel nodded, indeed, Palm can use her ability to spy on the Chimera ants. Knuckle, it's meaningless to talk about it now since we can't spy on them, we have to rush into the palace and fight them. We have Chairman and Allan here, I believe we can defeat the Ant King. Netero laughed, Knuckle, you're praising me too much. Of course, Chairman, I admire you very much, Knuckle said excitedly. The naive Knuckle didn't know how strong the Ant King was. He thought that the chairman was enough to defeat it. In fact, it wasn't just Knuckle, but even Gon, Killua and Morel thought the same. Although they knew that the Ant King was very strong, they didn't know how strong. Even Chairman Netero, who was planning on dealing with the Ant King, didn't know the limit of the latter's power. Before he really fought him, he had absolutely no idea of how strong he is, except for what Allan said. Currently, only Allan knew how strong the Ant King was. However, even Allan himself wasn't certain about this. Since many things had changed. On the side, Morel looked at Netero and said, Chairman, do we act directly? Netero looked at Allan and asked, Allan, what do you intend to do? Allan replied, let me see the situation in the palace first. Hearing this, Morel and Nove were shocked. Could it be that Allan has an ability he can use to spy into the palace? Allan directly activated his ability, Heaven's Eye. In the next second, an eyeball manifested in the air. Although the eyeball was thumb-sized, it can actually see 360 degrees and transmit everything to the user directly. Under Allan's control, Heaven's Eye flew into the sky toward the palace. 3 minutes later, Heaven's Eye hovered above the palace. Allan could see many Chimera ants gathering in the palace, more than 1,000 of them. Apparently, the Ant King assembled all his soldiers. After this, Allan used his Nen to control the eye and directed it into the palace. Unexpectedly, Heaven's Eye entered the palace without any hindrance. However, suddenly, Allan noticed a terrifying aura as soon as he was less than 100 meters above the palace. The owner of this aura immediately took action and emitted a larger N to find the intruders. Although it noticed the specific position of the eye in the sky, it didn't look at it even once. Therefore, Allan boldly manipulated Heaven's Eye and continued forward into the palace. Damn it, I can't find the exact location. Looks like I have to report to the king. The owner of the aura was Caesar, one of the royal guards. Although he sensed the intruder, he couldn't pinpoint his location. Allan couldn't use Zetsu to conceal Heaven's Eye in the sky, he could only hide it within. Therefore, Caesar felt it, but couldn't lock on its specific location. In a flash, Caesar entered the palace. Chapter 268, God's Punishment. In the palace, King Miruem was still playing chess with Komuji. The two guards, Poof and Nora, were waiting by the king's side. At this time, Allan controlled his Heaven's Eye and arrived outside the hall. From the distance, he could see the Ant King playing chess with a human girl. Allan recognized the girl at a glance, she was the runny-nosed girl named Komuji. Before Caesar came to report to Miruem, the latter noticed the gaze peeping at him. However, to everyone's surprise, the Ant King didn't pay attention to Heaven's Eye. He was still focused on playing chess with Komuji and didn't care about being spied on. No, it's not that he didn't care, but playing chess with Komuji was more important to him. Caesar saw this but didn't disturb him, because he knew that if he talked now, the king won't be happy. Therefore, he had no choice but to turn his attention to the other guards, Poof and Nora. Nora knew what Caesar wanted to report because he also noticed the strange aura. Poof glanced at Nora sharply without saying anything. Nora nodded and quietly left the Ant King's side. As soon as he was out, Nora enveloped the entire hall with his N. Over there. Nora locked on the position of Heaven's Eye outside the main hall and attacked. But Allan was faster as he released the ability before the attack could land. As soon as Allan removed his Heaven's Eye, he explained the situation in the palace to Netero and the others. When he said that the Ant King was playing chess with a human girl named Komuji, everyone was surprised. Because, the Chimera ants can't stand humans and only see them as food, and now a human girl was playing chess with the Ant King. It seems the Ant King is different from the other ants, Netero said. So, what do we do now? Netero looked at Allan and asked, Allan, what do you think? Let me give them a surprise first, Allan said. Surprise? Everyone looked at him in confusion. Well, I will destroy the palace and force them out, at the same time, I will get rid of the ant soldiers. After I destroy the palace, you make your move. Hearing Allan's words, they were shocked. Destroy the palace? Do you know how big that place is, can you do it? Morel expressed his doubt. Well, if it's just the palace, then it is fine, Allan said confidently. Then, go ahead, Netero said. At this time, Gon said, but what if the human girl was hurt? Kite replied, Gon, sometimes, necessary sacrifices are necessary. Gon nodded and didn't say anything. He knew that he was still a little naive and innocent. Allan said, okay, I will go now. Remember, you have to drag the guards and the Ant King out. Chairman Netero will fight against the Ant King alone. So, you have to hold the guards up, I will help you with them before joining Chairman Netero. Everyone nodded. Thunderbolt. Allan directly turned into a blue thunderbolt and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Wow! Seeing this, all people present were shocked. Gon showed great admiration, while Killua curled his lips and said, I will be able to do that in the future. On the other hand, Allan has already rushed out of the forest, then with a flash of light, he appeared 1,000 meters in the air, above the palace. Allan raised his hand and said, receive God's punishment, El Thor. This was a massive AoE skill from the Rumble fruit. When the lightning struck down, all the soldiers were killed without exception. In the blink of an eye, a huge hole formed. This is how terrifying Allan El Thor was. Chapter 269, Thunderclouds. The huge roar of thunder attracted the attention of the Ant King and his guards. Komuji, who was playing chess, was frightened. However, Miruem didn't stop playing the game. The three guards looked at each other with tacit understanding. They knew that the sound of thunder was from the hall in front of the palace, where the soldiers were gathered, which means that the humans are here. The guards' faces were gloomy because the humans dared to attack them so late in the night. Nora and Caesar left the hall together and went to check on the situation. Poof stayed by the king's side. What? The entire square is destroyed. The two guards who came to investigate outside were shocked when they saw the destruction. All the soldiers we stationed here are killed. It seems to be caused by a lightning strike. Nora said gloomily. Damn! Who the hell did this? Caesar looked around but he didn't see anyone. We should go back into the palace, in case those humans attacked. The two guards returned to the palace, however, they didn't go into the main hall to report, instead, they stayed on the roof. 2,000 meters above the palace, Allan floated with his thunder fruit power, looking at the destruction he caused. Now it was time to attack the palace. The palace was 3 times as big as the square that was just destroyed. So, he can't just the same attack, as it won't be effective. Therefore, to destroy the entire palace with one strike, he needed stronger lightning. At the same time, Kite and the others reached the palace but didn't get too close. When they saw the square destroyed, their eyes widened. Although they didn't see how Allan did it, the power behind the strike was clear. Most of them knew that they can't cause such destruction even if they used all of their powers. It seems that Allan really has the ability to destroy the palace, Morel said. Afterward, everyone raised their heads and looked at the sky. At this time, Allan was already 3,000 meters above the palace. At this altitude, Allan was confident that the Ant King won't discover him. Even if they did discover him, they won't have enough time to rush toward him. To destroy the palace in one hit requires a very strong attack. Ordinary lightning strikes won't do, he needed something stronger. Allan released lightning from his hands toward the clouds, forming a thundercloud. In just a few seconds, the thundercloud was flashing with lightning. Damn it, what is that? Why is it only above the palace? It must be some kind of trick by those people. On the roof of the palace, Nora and Caesar looked at the thundercloud and exclaimed. Thunderclouds were powerful natural forces, even monsters like them didn't dare underestimate it. I can't think of a guy with such power in the human extermination team, Caesar said seriously. He suddenly knew how much he underestimated the power of those humans. So, the square outside was destroyed by lightning. Nora clenched his fists and raised his head. Now, they want to destroy the palace. If that thundercloud releases a lightning strike, the palace will be destroyed without a doubt. Caesar continued gloomily, and at that time, the king will be hurt. Yes, we have to find a way to stop it. Nora also realized the seriousness of the matter at hand. On the other side, Kite, Gon, and the others all noticed the thunderclouds above the palace. What's going on? It's not raining. Menchi wondered. It must be Allan's masterpiece, Killua said. He knew that Allan could use the power of lightning, so this must be it. The other was silent, although they also knew that Allan could use lightning, they didn't expect it to reach such an extent. It is almost as if he is controlling the lightning from nature. Although I don't know how he does it, it seems like he intends to destroy the palace with that thundercloud, Kite said. Morel followed, we must be prepared, once Allan strikes, we must be ready to rush forward. Above the palace, Allan has already completed forming the thundercloud and turned his eyes toward the palace, pointed his finger down, and said, fall. Suddenly, a thick lightning strike flashed in the thundercloud before falling down toward the palace. On the roof, Nora and Caesar's faces changed, the latter directly jumped up and received the lightning strike on his body. The powerful lightning strike slammed on his body with devastating power. Everyone from the extermination team witnessed this scene and opened their mouths in shock. The monster called Caesar actually used his body to block that lightning strike. Chapter 270, Lightning. Above the thundercloud, Allan witnessed Caesar's actions and was slightly surprised. As expected of a royal guard, he can actually block that powerful lightning with his flesh. It looks like that guy is the same as Yuppie, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to resist a lightning strike of that scale. Allan's mouth curled into a smile. The stronger they were, the more he wanted to fight. But right now, he shouldn't be in a hurry, the main event didn't start yet. His current goal is to create a thundercloud with enough power to strike down the palace and force Miruem out. Killing the royal guards can wait. Caesar's clothes turned to ashes, revealing his monstrous body. His body contained just 10% of humans' genes and the rest was from monsters. This is why he had an amazing healing factor as well as strong brute force. As long as he isn't decapitated or destroyed, he won't die. As long as I'm here, you worms can't think of destroying the palace or hurting the king. Caesar roared at the dark sky. He was talking about Allan and the rest of the humans there. However, Allan was about 3,000 meters above the ground, so he couldn't hear Caesar at all due to the roaring thunder around him. Otherwise, he would have come down and killed him first. Kite and others, on the other hand, heard Caesar and were shocked. Despite such a distance, Caesar's roar carried some oppression. All of them, Netero excluded, could tell that this monster was too strong, and may even be able to kill them with just his roars. Of course, if they are prepared, they wouldn't die, and this time, they were indeed prepared. They won't back down unless they eradicate the Chimera ants. At this time, everyone heard a crackling sound of lightning and looked at the sky. A huge bolt of lightning struck down at a building inside the palace. The palace covers a huge area, and had many buildings, one of them was destroyed just now. Bastard! On the roof of another building, Caesar clenched his fists. Just a second ago, he declared that no one will destroy the palace as long as he is there, and a second later, a building fell. This is simply getting slapped hard. However, it also made him realize that what he blocked was just the first lightning from the thundercloud, and more are on their way. The other guard, Nora, who was standing beside Caesar, frowned. Nora didn't imagine a human could possess the ability to control the force of nature. At this moment, 2 lightning bolts quickly fell down from the sky. 2 buildings were destroyed. Not only did the building fall, but the lightning caused them to burn. And the flame started spreading. Afterward, lightning strikes kept falling down one after the other, destroying everything in their path. The number of lightning strikes caused Caesar and Nora to be dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, the thundercloud could release thunder continuously. At first, it was just 1, then 2, then 4. If this continues, within 2 minutes, the entire palace would be destroyed.